All right, moving on to Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. This movie starts with the birth of Pinhead, which I thought was pretty cool. And then we get a psych eval going on with Kirsty's character. I always talk about in these films how, at the end of them, that how are you going to explain this to the cops? And when you do explain it, are people just going to think you're crazy? They will. And the fact that she's, being evaluated, like, oh no. After that story, we're gonna have to look you over for a little bit. She wants the mattress that her stepmother was killed on destroyed. Wouldn't that be considered matricide? Cha. And Kirsty, there's a lot of characters within these films. Not these films, but in horror films or films in general, where, they're sitting around and they're, feeling guilt or feeling this or feeling that. And a lot of times it can be annoying. But I have to really feel for Kirsty here. The fact that she thinks her father's burning in hell and that she may have had something to do with that. That's a lot of guilt to bring on to somebody. So I did have to feel for her here. Her sobbing and her guilt in that moment, or whatever she is in that moment, or just her pain of thinking her father's in hell, whatever it may be. I completely feel for her here. She is aware hell exists now, and she knows her father's there, or at least she's being told she is, that he is, and she believes it. So that's one hell of a thing to put on a kid. Now, we get like a recap of the ending of the first movie at the beginning of this one. Then later in the movie, not even that much later, Kirsty's going through her, the story. How the fuck she knows what happened between Julia and Frank is beyond me. Like, she's telling it in detail, and it's like, at no time does she know the majority of what she's saying. She just, all of a sudden, she's an expert. I get it. She's telling it to the audience of maybe people who haven't seen the first movie and explaining it. But they're mostly showing the footage from the first film that they showed in the fucking opening. And they're just like, we already saw this. Come on. You're spending like 6 or 7 minutes of this movie replaying footage. What is this, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2? So I don't know, just that whole recap thing, and then Ashley Lawrence's character, Kirsty being fucking so knowledgeable on it. I was just like, okay. I like how in the first one, which, oh shit, I didn't even talk about this in my first review. God dang it. The effects makeup, the effects, everything, all the effects, the practical effects, all that in the first one. Unbelievably fantastic. Especially like Frank's reassembly. How the hell didn't I mention this? I just skipped right over it, but I'm figuring if you're watching that one, you're probably watching this one. So here you go. Oh my God, that, like, where the brain comes back together and it attaches to the spine, he comes up out of the goop. That shit's amazing. Like, that's The Thing, Rob Bottin level awesome. Like, seriously, great shit. That does not get talked about enough. But anyway, Frank comes back in, like, very short stages. And he has to, like, kill numerous people to even look shitty. And Julia is in the mattress, and this guy, he gives a fucking, like, a straight razor to this guy who thinks he has bugs on him at all time, which is totally fucked up. But he cuts himself just a little bit, and like, well, a lot of bit, but he's not bleeding all that much. It's not like there's all of his blood in his body. It's probably like, a third of it or something. And Julia comes out, and she looks like as together as Frank almost ever does in the entire first film, off of just like a third of the blood of one guy's body. Which, it's fine. I just was like, this is pretty inconsistent here. And I like how the doctor, he goes and he ends up getting her like 20 bodies in a row. Like, that tells you the difference between a guy wanting to get laid and a girl wanting to get laid. She's going to take her time. She's like, I want you, but fuck, like, I need to take this in stages one at a time this guy's like, all right, this chick, he doesn't even know what she looks like. He's like, all right, this chick might be into me. I might be able to fuck her. Like, I need her to get skin. So I'm just going to line her up with bodies. We're just going to get them all up on the rafters, and she's just going to suck them dry, and then she's going to suck me dry. Yep, I went there. And I love how this doctor who's helping out Kirsty's character, he's like, all right, come on. Like, he sees all this shit goes down. He's like, all right, I believe you, obviously, I would hope. And he goes to get her, and he's like, all right, we need to get out of here. And she goes to check her, like, her little cabinet thing for her clothes. And she is so upset that her clothes aren't there. I don't know why that scene made me laugh out loud. And she's just like, damn it! Like, she was so angry that her clothes were missing. And he was like, I'll go get you some other clothes. It's not a big deal at all. And it wasn't. Like, she was wearing clothes like 2 seconds later. And speaking of wearing clothes, white is not Julia's color when she doesn't have skin on her body. I love it. It's a cool contrast, the white, you know, the blood on the white clothing and all that. But she goes and she picks out a completely white outfit to wear, like, neck to fucking ankles. And she's just blood everywhere. I was just like, really? Black wasn't the first option? You went for white? Okay. Interesting choice. And why is Julia and Frank was Larry? That was weird to me. I don't know if, like, it might be a choice. It might be once you are to a certain level. I don't know if this is explained in the further, you know, installments here, but Frank takes on Larry's persona. So he takes his skin and he becomes Larry. He's still, like, basically, you know, trying to get himself together so that he can do this. But Julia is Julia. Like, she just chooses her own skin, I guess. But she grows her own skin back. It's not like she went and found her own skin and, like, threw it back on. She was able to grow her own skin. So is Frank look like Frank under that skin? If they pulled off Larry's face, would it look like Frank under there once he was fully healed and regenerated? See, as I said, I overthink this shit, but it does beg the question. It doesn't really have consistency. One film, you can pick your skin, and the other one, you can't, and it's just you again. So, I don't know. Julia picks up the come to daddy line and changes it over to come to mother, which I thought was cool. Dr. Kyle, who's helping Kirsty here, dies unexpectedly. I feel like his death is actually pretty unexpected, and I liked it. He goes in there, meets Julia. I thought that they were going to have some kind of romance thing going on with him and Kirsty, but he then starts to have a little... I guess she just kind of, like, you know, Julia's character is supposed to, like, embody sexuality, and, like, men get around her and they fall to her prey, and that's fine. And he's just like, you know, maybe he's just so taken by her that he's just like, even if he has a thing going on over here, it's just like, whoa, what's this? But yeah, I thought his death was unexpected, and I like that. And another thing to consider here, like I talked about in my Halloween 2 review, is like, that was all happening to Laurie Strode in one night. And this is all happening to Kirsty Cotton's character. I am saying that right? Kirsty? Yeah. Kirsty. It's K-I. Whatever. This is all happening to her in like a couple days. So, I don't know. I just always think about that just from a mental standpoint of the characters. Like, she's going through all of this. Like, she knew about none of this a couple days ago. And now she's experienced everything you've seen in the first 2 films in a couple days span. Like, she would live in that mental, you know, institution for the rest of her life. Although it does close down. So she'd have to move. And I like how Julia bitch smacks Kirsty's unconscious. Like, I don't even know. Maybe it's possible, but I don't think Julia has. Maybe she has like super Cenobite strength or whatever at that point. I don't think she's a Cenobite, but whatever the hell she is, she's resurrected back from the dead. Yeah, she completely knocks her unconscious with a slap. I don't know. I'm guessing, like, probably possible. Just it just seemed ridiculous. And as far as like storytelling goes, people are so much harder on film today than they all used to be. Like, because this came out in the 80s, people can just be like, whatever. Like, doesn't matter. Like, the convenience that this doctor that works there is obsessed with puzzle boxes and you know, Cenobites and the whole world, and he needs to see it. The hospital she goes to, there happens to be a doctor there who's into this shit. And one of the patients that is at the hospital is, you know, a person who is a puzzle master, and all she does is sit in her room and put together square puzzle-like boxes. The convenience of both of those things existing in the hospital she goes to is ridiculous. But do I care? Not really. I mean, it serves the story and I enjoyed it, whatever. But if that happened in a movie today, especially a sequel to a popular horror fucking movie, oh my God. People would be like, Jesus, this is terrible writing. Talk about convenience, yap, yap, yap. Yeah, my good God. We have eternity to know your flesh. I really liked that line. Enough to write it down here. The aerial labyrinth shot, you know, I think it's just like a matte painting with like the front of it. It's like they're walking. I don't know how that was done, but I thought that looked awesome. I just loved the labyrinth and Leviathan up in there. That just all looked so cool. I liked the hell world that they had set up in there. We get to see Frank again. We didn't get to see him in the first film after he died. Like, we got to see the skinless Frank, and it's a completely different actor as well, so we never even got to see him again once he died. And we were kind of waiting for it to happen the entire film, and then when he comes back, he's Larry. He's not Frank. And we had to wait till this movie for him to finally make an actual appearance. I love when Julia gets skinned, like when they're holding on her and she's getting sucked away and like just rips off her body, like flies away skinless, and she's just holding her skin. That's awesome, and it all obviously plays into the film later as well. The Chatterer, which is my favorite Cenobite from the first movie, and all of these, I don't know, something about him, he's super fucking creepy. We find out in this, when everyone becomes themselves again, once they are reimagined as humans, we find out that he was just a child. I really like the stop motion model animation here, like Ray Harryhausen stuff. The guy with, you know, the doctor with the tentacle monsters things coming out of his hands kind of reminds me of something like Beetlejuice. You know, sandworms. You hate them, right? I hate them. And I love that, like, Julia puts on, or Christy puts on Julia's skin to fake out the guy kiss him. The doctor's cool. He's just all like, I love the look of the doctor. So cool. He's just like, it's just his head is being held by this thing that looks like a dick. Like when they show it up close, like here, it looks like the head of a dick in a shaft. I was laughing when I was looking at it. I was like, yeah, it looks a lot like a dick sticking it out of the top of his head. But I just really like the design of like how it's just flying him around in the room. Thing must be really long though, because it's just flying him around everywhere. We don't see what it's connected to. I'm curious on what it's connected to. The puzzle boxes in these don't really make any sense to me. Like, I don't really see what she's solving all that much. She's just like spinning her finger around it. Like, I don't know. I think it's just one of those things where you just have to use your imagination for what actually is working. And I love that the spinning wood box at the end is all gnarly and has like all their fucking flesh and everything hanging off on all the faces, which actually plays into the third one. I was surprised that the third one even paid attention to this film. I thought that was going to completely ignore it. And we got the Drifter, who comes back here and he makes another appearance, and he's just like, you know, he says his closing line. I was like, okay, who the hell is that guy? Is he the devil? Is he God? What is he? I'm so curious on this guy. So yeah, really cool movie. I liked it a lot. As I said, I've enjoyed all three of them tonight. So I had a good time with this. Really cool sequel. Really, really cool sequel. All right, moving on to the third, Hell on Earth.